This is The Litter Box, a Detroit Lions podcast with your hosts, Chet West and Bill Patterson.
Detroit Lions Litter Box listeners, welcome to another episode of your Detroit Lions Litter Box. I'm your host, Billy P. with Chet West. The Lions won a clunker. They escaped the Giants in overtime yesterday, Chet. And they won at 34-27, basically because Jahmyr Gibbs put on his Superman cape. Outside of that, the only other offensive players that really even bothered to show up were the Sun God, St. Brown, and Penei Sewell. The interior of the offensive line is an absolute mess, Chet. Jared Goff does not have time to drop back and get to his second, third, or even fourth reads. And I've got some shots to fire at management, just on roster construction and lack thereof. But I want to get your thoughts on this one first.
I think you're trending towards a sky is falling narrative here. This is the NFL. Week in, week out, this is the NFL. This is what you get. This is what you get with parity. The New York Giants, I think we made a mistake in assessing, and the Lions players tried to tell us this all week. But I think in our previous podcast, we made a mistake in assessing them as this weakling that we should pound due solely to their record. The Giants sort of reminded me in a lot of ways of that 3-13 Lions team back in, 2021, the first year of the Holmes Campbell regime. They've got a lot of fight. They are middle of the pack in defensive numbers. They are at the top 10 in rushing. Now, that doesn't look like a patsy to me. That doesn't look like somebody we're going to be expected to crush. They are missing neighbors. They were missing Dart, but they filled it in with Jameis Winston, that guy, he actually is our worst nightmare because he's a quarterback who's a gunslinger. So he's just going to be out there throwing wild on us without anything to lose. And that's when we're going to lose that game. Our defensive backfield obviously is beat up and needs help. Our pass rush was not the best I've ever seen it in that game at all. Our offensive line, even Goff and everybody else on the team that were interviewed after this game talked about the struggles of our offensive line. But the Lions pulled it out. Good teams with good culture pull a win out in that game. They find a way to win and they move along. Look at every other team. The Giants have played so many one-score games this season. I think their last 2 or 3 games came down to the final minutes, and those are against good teams. Packers, Cowboys. These are not, this is not a pushover team. I think we drastically underestimated the challenge in front of us.
Potentially. I'm going to take a different take on that. The Giants thought so little of the Detroit Lions beating them that Shane Bowen, their defensive coordinator, is now fired. So that is some of the breaking news that we're going to give you. And then Giants right tackle Jermaine Eluemunor slams Aiden Hutchinson. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I would suggest every listener does this. How do I say this respectfully? He did not do a damn thing all bleeping game. And basically the tape shows us that Aiden Hutchinson didn't have a good game, save the last play of the game when he and McNeil got home and did sack Winston. Aside from that, he was largely vacant. We can skip forward, Chet, and we'll do game balls. Jahmyr Gibbs gets one, and Jake Fox gets one. Jake Bates gets one, and that is it for me.
I'm going to give one. You're going to give one to Gibbs, for sure. I'm going to give one to Sewell and Ratledge. Their run blocking over that right side of the line is what broke Gibbs on all those plays. He went untouched, okay? And they opened those holes. So I'm going to give one to those two guys. They did a pretty serviceable job over there.
I'm fine with that, and I think that's a very good take on your part as well. On defense, the only ball I would potentially give out would be to one Roy Lopez, who had 6 tackles, tackle for a loss. Outside of that, the defense, let's talk about Jameis Winston catching that touchdown where he not only got Derek Barnes spun around, Derek Barnes wrapped him up and couldn't bring him to the ground. This leads to my next topic, which is, you extended Jamison Williams, who was not present yesterday, not a difference maker.
Yep.
You extended Hutch, who was not a difference maker yesterday. You extended Barnes, who was not a difference maker yesterday. You extended Levi Onwuzurike, who can't seem to get on the field because his back is always bothering him. And I want to highlight the 2024 draft. And here's why I have concern for this franchise going forward. It's not one loss, Chet. It's the fact that they had an entire draft. This would be year 2 of that draft. These should be your major contributors on the playing field this season. And right now it looks like Terrion Arnold injured. I mean, concussions happen. It's a violent sport. Enos Rakestraw, always hurt in college. Enos Rakestraw, always hurt with the Lions. Giovanni Manu, who they traded up to get, played Canadian football up in British Columbia. He's a reach, can't seem to find the field. And then they drafted Vaki. He was a safety at Utah, played a little bit of running back. The Lions thought they were the smartest guys in the room and could make him a running back. A, it's a position of strength. B, he's been a special teamer when healthy. So that's a reach. You're not drafting special teamers in the 3rd and 4th rounds. Then they go after Makai Wingo, who even his own coaches at Louisiana State, Chet, said that he, at the point of attack at 6 feet tall, is too short to really create massive leverage. He hasn't seen the field whatsoever. Again, he's too short. And then you've got Christian Mahogany, who might be the best draft pick of this, but is injured this year and out. So you had a 2024 draft with no one contributing in 2025. And that is where I want to say that I think this team, if it falls short in its quest to reach its first Super Bowl, that's going to be a major factor to it. The sky's not falling in. I'm not predicting doom and gloom, but I would be remiss if we didn't talk about this, Chet, because that's a huge factor.
I would agree with you to some extent. I think some of the gambles in the last 2 drafts were not good gambles. Best way to put it. You've Manu, obviously. Tisla doesn't seem to be producing on the field right now. 2 guys that they traded up to grab and were criticized for doing so in both instances. I'm not ready to say Brad Holmes needs to take a hike here. 2021, 2022, 2023 were some of the best drafts probably for this team in history and probably in all of the NFL in those years. 2024 draft definitely leaves something to be desired. Terrion Arnold has not done what they were hoping he would do. They did not draft corners for 3 straight years, and then they decided we got to get some corners in here to fill some gaps. I have 2 theories about professional football. One, the cornerback position and the offensive line position take some seasoning before you see any results. I like veteran cornerbacks. I like veteran O-linemen. That's just me. You can throw all the stats in the world at me to prove me wrong on that. Those are the guys that I trust the most. And so it takes a few years to see that fruit bear out. Ratledge is already showing he can do some things at the right guard position. Unfortunately, we have a center right now that is performing way below the league. They will need to address that in the offseason. They've got to address that center position, whether it's through the draft, which I really hope it's not, because again, it'll take years to get somebody up to speed, or if it's getting a free agent. So Brad Holmes, I'll agree with you a bit. 2024 draft is light. 2025 draft, who knows? Maybe Ratledge ends up an all-pro, and we got an all-pro guard right next to an all-pro right tackle. Maybe he doesn't. I'll wait a bit and see what happens there. I do agree with you to agree the last 2 drafts have not been what the first 3 were. Now,
well, I wasn't even going after last year's draft because I think Williams has been a plug-and-play starter from day one.
Yep.
That's round 1. Ratledge, plug-and-play round 2. So
he's had maybe 1 bad draft so far, and you want to skewer him for that. But he's had like 3 excellent drafts and 1 we don't know yet.
Okay.
Probably okay.
I mean, the class of the NFL right now and defending Super Bowl champions are the Philadelphia Eagles. They don't miss on drafts ever. And so my point is, if he goes 0 for 7 in 1 draft, it's too soon. That is something that will come back to bite and haunt a team for
I think you can give a general
years.
Manager 1 bad draft. But mentioning those Eagles, lost to the Cowboys yesterday in overtime. This league is tough. I mean, the parity is incredible. Look at these teams. I mean, it's literally every game is a one-score game. What is it? There's a stat out there. 90% of games are decided by one score. That's it. I mean, the difference between a terrible team or a terrible record in the Giants at 2-10 is one-score games over the course of the whole season. We saw this when the Lions struggled too. It's not the NFL. Being a fan of an NFL team is not for the faint of heart. And I'm not defending Brad Holmes here. Okay. I'm just saying the margin for error is so slim and matchups are such a huge piece of this. And when we get into our Packers preview here, we do not match up well against the Packers. I'll just preview my thoughts on that for you. But they do well against our weaknesses. So it's, again, these games, these one-score games, it can go either way. And Lions have had to break their way 7 times this season so far. They got 6 games left. I'll be curious to see what they got left.
Well, let's use that and let's talk about the Packers and Thanksgiving Day. So the game is moved up a half hour, so I want everybody to be aware of that. It's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern or 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. It used to be on the half hour, but it is moved this year. Right now, the opening line is the Packers +3. The over-under is going to be 49.5, and the money line, if you are inclined to do so, is +135 for the Packers, -155 for the Lions. To your point, Chet, what the Packers do well is pass rush from the interior of the D-line, and that is the Lions' absolute weakness right now since Graham Glasgow has been moved to center with Frank Ragnow's retirement. And so I think it's going to be a long day at the office for all of the offensive linemen for the Detroit Lions. You talked a little bit about in the Giants game how lackluster the defensive backs looked. I agree, but here's the thing. No defensive backfield's going to look good in an NFL game if you can't have your front four generate a pass rush. And I don't know what was wrong with Hutchinson yesterday. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if the leg's bothering him, but he didn't show. And Brad Holmes, again, I don't mean to pile on, but his reluctance to invest in somebody opposite Aiden Hutchinson is so prevalent, and it makes the entire secondary look really, really bad. Good news, DJ Reed's back, so at least we have our one starting cornerback.
Can I stop you there, Bill? I want to ask you a question because you touched on something interesting here.
Go.
What do you think the difference was between the Eagles game when our defense looked so dominant and the Giants game when they looked like they couldn't defend a peewee team?
I think Mike Kafka came with his A game plan now that he's the, interim head coach of the Giants, and I think he's viewing it as an audition. I also think the Giants, to your point, know that they've got more talent there, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants are a playoff team next year when Malik Neighbors, Jackson Dart, some others, Scatterbo, are all back healthy. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is young talent on this team, and they've had enough early draft picks to show for that. They just haven't gotten the coaching right. I also think the Lions are, you talk about the parity of the league. You're going to get up for a Sunday night game against national television, NBC, the bright lights of Philly.
The little things, right? It's the little motivations.
Okay, now you're back home for close to a month, 3 straight games, and it's like, we have to play the Giants. I am certain no Lion would ever admit it, but they're looking ahead to the Packer game, knowing that's a must win. So to answer your question, I think they quite simply
took advantage
right past your New York Giants, and we're hoping for the best. And fortunately, they did get a win. Fortunately, Penei Sewell and Ratledge opened up huge holes for Gibbs. We do need to give a kudo to that, too. Jahmyr Gibbs set Detroit Lions all-time rushing record and total yards record, which given that Billy Sims and Barry Sanders.
I wanted to make sure that we touched on that because what I couldn't believe was watching that defense against the Eagles in Philly and then watching them this past Sunday at home against the Giants. It was like 2 totally different defensive units.
Well,
And I think that's the matchup game. I think that's the game scheming. I think that the Giants just picked at a weakness more than the Eagles did.
And
in essence.
And if Hutch had a bad day at the offense, I mean, he's your most important defensive player. And if he's not getting home, you don't have that, yin and yang or counterpart on the other side of it.
Yeah.
To do that. And the Giants did, I will give Kafka and company, they ran the ball when they needed to. They passed the ball when they needed to. They kept it a mixed bag. And I hope Mike Kafka gets a job in the NFL. From what little I've seen, I think he deserves it.
All right. Now we can put the Giants to bed. I wanted you to go through that real quick just to sort of sort that out for the listeners. And let's move on to the Packers game. I'm curious to hear our thoughts here. Give me your, what do you do, Bill? What does your Thanksgiving Day look like for these games? What's the setup at the Patterson?
Well, typically we go to the game and we go down to Detroit. We watch the parade, freeze our keisters off. We try to set up in front of a local establishment that I'm not going to mention because I prefer the crowds to stay light.
Sure.
One Jerome Bettis is usually there to enjoy in the revelry. And with his family. So we brunch there, we watch the parade, then we head over and we watch the Lions. This year I'm in Iowa City, and coincidentally they eat early and scheduled dinner for 1 p.m., which is...
Is it bizarre to you that other places don't know how to do Thanksgiving Day around the football schedule?
Yes, because
it's definitely more of it's accentuated a little more in the Detroit homes, I believe.
May I get on my soapbox?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so here's the thing. This game has been played since 1934. The Lions matched up against the Bears. They lost 19-16. This is the 22nd time the Lions will have played the Packers. They played the Bears 20 times, the Vikings 5 times. And believe it or not, they played the Chiefs 4 times, but the Chiefs complained about the Lions and Cowboys always getting Thanksgiving Day games.
Sure.
And so now there's a third game because the Chiefs bellyached about it.
Get to do what the Chiefs want to do in the NFL.
I can't stand the Hunts. I can't stand the Chiefs.
Sure.
Overall, the Lions have a 38-45-2 record. But here's the crazy part about this is the Lions took a huge risk back in the day scheduling this game. It turned out to be an immediate success. It was a sellout in 1934 and has been played outside of every year except for the World War II years. Here's a crazy idiosyncrasy that only hardcore Lions fans will play. But there's some formula in the schedule making that the AFC North cannot play the Lions or the Cowboys in those time slots, which is noon and 3:30. So they can only play in the night game. So teams that you will not see would be the Bengals, Browns, Ravens, and Steelers. That is interesting in its own right. The other thing that's interesting is you have a huge market team, the Los Angeles Rams, and they have the longest drought of any team, which is they have not appeared on a Thanksgiving Day game in any kind since 1975. And there is only one NFL team that has never appeared in the game, and that would be your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wow. I did not know that. And the Rams being out of it since 75 is fascinating, but I also don't envision them as a Thanksgiving Day team. I don't know why. I just have labeled certain teams as Thanksgiving Day teams, and they're not one of them. What do you, I want you to give us a little bit of a food and drink survival guide here.
Well, I think the key thing is you need to be able to watch the game. So I'm bringing an iPad, my phone, spare chargers,
you got
headphones.
all the things. You're going to have some sort of a portal in every room.
So fortunately, we're going to a restaurant. Hopefully they'll have TVs on there as well.
Oof. This is a rough Thanksgiving for you.
Yeah,
this is an oddity.
My nephews are going to, they love me as an uncle, and they're going to run interference for me best I can, or best they can.
Folks, this is a pitfall that can happen if you marry out of the Detroit area or out of the Thanksgiving Day tradition into another family that does not respect it as much as the one you grew up in the Detroit area. You will have to deal with these perils every once in a while. Sometimes they'll acquiesce to your needs, but most of the time you're going to have to shuffle, juke, and jive your way around being able to see the game because their schedules just don't match up on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah. And I'm also one that we've always eaten at 4:30, 5 p.m. So this whole thing has me thrown up.
Exactly. Yeah.
In a tizzy.
Look, my family, they have been more than, I moved here to Minnesota, and ever since the first Thanksgiving Day, they have been more than accepting of me needing to see my game on TV. We have a very settled plan on Thanksgiving Day. We go to my mother-in-law, Peggy's house, and she always makes sure that the game is on and the volume is up and that I'm able to watch. Now, if there's people jumping around doing other things, they're not concentrating on the game like I am, but I can still sit there and watch and get a seat in the center of the room and focus. And I'm not asked to do too much, although over the last couple of years, I've taken on a green egg turkey, which has cut into my morning a little bit prior to. So this year, I think she even mentioned maybe this year, so you could be settled and seated for the game. You don't do the turkey in the morning. You do it the day before and then bring it. So I'm going to do that. We're going to have 2 turkeys, one fresh one that she makes, one off the grill that I make that's going to be like a leftovers thing for people to pick at.
So my nephews will be wearing my spare Lions jerseys in a show of solitude and support.
Good. You get that at least.
Even though they're Broncos fans, but that's also their way to poke the bear for our family, which is big Chiefs fans.
Sure.
My father-in-law had a very quick retort. We'll DVR the game. And my brother-in-law quickly said, Dad, the Chiefs-Cowboys is on immediately after. We're going to be watching that live. So I knew where I stood on this. So now what I've come up with is a list of excuses to get me outside. One, I'm going to claim that our fantasy football trade deadline is Thanksgiving Day, and so I need to be out on my phone all the time. I'm also going to claim that my bookie's calling me, even though I don't have a bookie.
Both of these sound very degenerate to me.
Fine.
Your family going to handle that okay? Is that...
Another one that I could do that's not as degenerate is claim that I always call certain mates or friends on Thanksgiving.
That sounds more wholesome. I need to go touch base with people.
I will not be able to cook, barbecue, or grill outside. Typically, I do that with a TV, but that's not going to happen. We could borrow one from a famous movie and go get ice for the Tom Collins mix. So that's another one. Or you
some mums, if you will.
Yeah. Or I could make like a really stinky salad with onion and garlic outside, cut a pumpkin squash outside, or another degenerate one, Chet, take up cigars or smoke outside. But I don't do either of those. I did include in my notes, just to make Chet laugh, that go outside and smoke with your aunt, uncle, cousins, or 15-year-old niece.
You're going to take up smoking just to watch this game. This is going to be great.
Pretty much. Anyhow, I would love to start a squares pool to get everybody involved, but that's not going to happen either. Fortunately, this isn't too dressy of a place. I do have a Honolulu blue sport coat, but I am going to keep that at home, and I will just be rocking the Panay Sewell jersey. So that's kind of my survival guide on it. It is a long-standing tradition.
You have a special survival need this year that the rest of us may not have to battle with, but if any of you out there are in a similar situation, you can fall back on some of these techniques and let us know how they work.
And if any listeners are in Iowa City, we will be dining at something Power Company or something like that restaurant. And come find us. We'll be the crew in Lions gear.
Well, I do feel for you. I'm sure you're going to have a great family outing.
Yeah,
but I do feel for you having to jockey around this game like this.
All joking aside, I couldn't have married into a better family.
Of course.
We're just having fun with this.
Mild flaws with this, though.
Why don't you give us some fantasy updates? I don't have any injury updates because it's too soon for a report. I imagine the list will be just as long. Everybody that played yesterday will play Thursday. The hope would be that we could possibly get Terrion Arnold back and potentially Kirby Joseph. Outside of that, I don't see anything changing.
I have a lot of problems fantasy-wise for this game, and I have a feeling this will be one of the lower-scoring Thanksgiving Day games we've seen.
Well, the over-under is 49.5 on that. And then I do have one Packer injury update that we really need to keep an eye on. Josh Jacobs did not play, but said he would only miss one game, so he missed yesterday's game against the Vikings. I don't know if he's still going to be healthy or not because his backup, Wilson, did quite well.
Yep.
So I do expect a lot of running to happen. Give us your fantasy update, and then we'll do kind of early look-aheads.
I don't like anybody in this game for fantasy, to be dead honest with you. I don't even like Gibbs so much in this game for fantasy. I think this is going to be a ugly Thanksgiving Day game. Now, we have been wrong on everything this season for the most part. I think maybe we've hit on about 10% of our predictions. So again, you could just turn us off at this point if you want to.
Fantasy, I think we've been accurate on.
Have we been accurate on fantasy? Because I don't feel terribly accurate on fantasy guesses, but I am not taking, if you've got guys in this game, I'm not taking them. You're on a short schedule. Thursday games, short schedule, makes it tough for offenses to prepare. It'll be a defensive game. If you've got like a Packers defense or a Lions defense, you might take it. The Packers have been struggling a titch lately, and the Lions offense hasn't been clicking lately. Micah Parsons and the Packers are going to make life very difficult for us, as they did in the first game we faced them this past season. They have too many things that match up against our weaknesses. Like their pass rush is good. Our O-line is not. Our defensive backfield isn't great. Their passing game isn't that bad. They do real well with underneath short passing. And that is kind of where we also aren't great. Our linebackers don't cover the pass very well. So I don't have a terribly positive outlook for you for this Thanksgiving Day game, other than we've seen magic happen before in Detroit on Thanksgiving. And we need it bad here. We need a victory against these Packers. So I'm staying away from everybody fantasy-wise. I know that's probably not what you want to hear. I don't see anybody going off in this game.
Okay. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring affair, so I would go under the 49.5. I'm going to go early prediction, the team that just needs it more. If the Lions lose this one, the division's out of the question. Your Chicago Bears seemingly just cannot lose. And the Lions have to have this where it'd be nice for the Packers to have it. I think Jordan Love's going to have a rough day at the office. I think Hutch, we get to see the Superman Hutch. I think he's going to be the one wearing the cape this week.
You think Hutch is going to answer the call, huh?
Yeah. And I think we're going to see something like
a little poster or a little billboard material there for him.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of baits. So I think it's going to be like a 20-16 type game, a lot of field goals.
I feel the same.
Points are going to be at a premium. I could see a safety potentially in this game or some type of defensive turnover. One guy I'd like to see really step up and not make a helmet-to-helmet collision and get a personal foul is Brian Branch. So let's hope 32 nice, shows up.
I feel like Branch has been somewhat neutered to some degree this season. He just doesn't seem to be the Brian Branch we were seeing from previous years. I don't know if it's just that he's been picked on. I don't know that it's just, the NFL's got their eye on him now, every play he makes, and he's trying to keep from doing these. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't seem like the guy.
He's missing his running mate, who's an all-pro, Kirby Joseph.
I think Kirby missing is a big deal.
I think it's a huge deal.
I get hurt that defensive back.
Yeah, if we could get one player back from the injured list, it would be Kirby Joseph.
And dare I say, I'm sort of missing Terrion Arnold at this point.
I'm missing Terrion Arnold as well.
What a bizarre thing to say after I've just ripped him limb from limb for the last year and a half. So I want to bring up two things before we close it out, Bill.
Yeah.
A couple of things.
Do you have a prediction,
to touch on? I hate this game. I think it's going to be like 19-13.
Okay.
Lions win, and it's going to come down to it'll be like 13-12, and the Lions will get a touchdown or something. I don't know. It's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be an ugly deal.
A pick six on the last drive.
Pick six, or Jordan Love scrambles around and throws a ball away. I don't know. I just don't see this being a pretty game, and I hope tradition sticks for this season, and we are so wrong, and the Lions just blow it out, and it's a huge offensive. I just don't see it. I see an ugly game coming up.
But couple of things. But that's how it goes for us.
It does.
That's a juicy tidbit, kind of like a green egg turkey.
It is. It's Anyhow, that's your turducken from the old litter box here, folks. The two things I want to bring up, two interesting things. Jake Bates, you mentioned him in your player of the game, your game balls, 59-yard field goal, under critical. critical make there. That Jake Bates, from brick salesman to hitting 59-yarders and possibly saving this season to some degree. Let's not get too crazy, but I have a feeling we're going to need him a little more down the stretch going forward. Close games and all, and some very big competition. Number 2, I attended the Minnesota State Championship football game this past weekend on Friday night. Our local Edina Hornets pulled it out against Moorhead. The running back for the Edina Hornets, Bill, ran for 320 yards. His name's Chase Bjorgard. I have never seen a running effort like that in my life in football. And high school football, so be it. But 320 yards and 6 touchdowns in the state final.
Well,
that is incredible.
Remiss if I didn't mention Jackie's cousin's son, Reston Lehman, led Peters Township to a Pennsylvania 4A state championship Saturday night at the Cruiser Field where the Steelers play. They were down 19-0 going into the second half and won 2019. So congratulations, Reston. I know you're a loyal listener, and good luck on your future endeavors. He is going to be playing D1 football next year. With that, do you have a final prediction? Anything else you'd like to share?
Nope. I want everybody to enjoy their turkey. Try to enjoy your family. Don't talk about politics, religion, or anything else dicey at the table, unless you want to cut your gift list down for the season. Keep everything happy and smiling, and let's hope for a Lions win. 8 wins would look really good right now if we could get there. Go Lions.
Go Lions.